88.5 Flagler College Radio. You are tuned in to Harmonic Distortion. I am your host every Thursday here on 88.5 from 7 to 9 p.m. My name is Ben McLeod, and we're going to do something a little different this evening. I'm doing my first interview with one of my favorite bands, and one of my best friends of all time is the drummer in this band. We have Scott Donaldson from King Buffalo. They're from Rochester, New York. They're incredible. We're going to check out some of their music. They've got a new album coming out. We're going to check out some of their old stuff as well. Scott, how you doing? Say hi.
Pretty good. I didn't realize I was popping your cherry on the interview on the radio.
Yes, you are.
Well, that's cool. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. So a little backstory here for all of you listeners. So Scott and I, we go way back, probably about 7 or 8 years.
Dude, it's over 10 at this point.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude, because we toured back in the day in Velvet Elvis too, and I joined that band in 2010 or something.
Okay, so we go back about 10 years. That's crazy. So Scott and I, we have toured in bands, not in the same band, but we've been on many different tours together. And again, he plays drums in an awesome band from Rochester called King Buffalo. Scott, this is such a typical question that I hate whenever people ask me.
Are you going to ask me my influences?
No, I'm going to ask you, describe your band, describe your sound, and give me a little backstory.
Okay. Well, our sound, for the simplest version, is basically classic rock. If we were, a band from the 60s or 70s, we'd basically just be a classic rock band, and you'd just hear us on all those radio stations instead of college radio. But yeah, we get compared to Pink Floyd and certain, because we're very atmospheric, but we also have heavier sections, which you could, string together with similarities to Black Sabbath. And then basically we started in 2013, and out of 2 different bands that were breaking up from Rochester, and I approached Sean and Dan. Sean's the guitarist and vocalist, Dan's the bassist, because they were in a really cool band, but they were also about to that project, so I approached them about doing some dates together, and then we did our first tour ever, cut a demo, and went out on tour with this band called All Them Whiskers.
Yes, All Them Whiskers. That's actually not the name. He's referencing my band, All Them Witches. Anyway, this is
Ben told me not to talk about, yes. But I have already done that.
Yes, exactly. Guys, this is why I love this dude, because we talk on the phone and he just makes fun of me the whole time. It's great. So anyway, how many albums do you guys have out right now, including extended plays and singles?
I haven't counted in a while. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Dead Star, 7, and then The Burden of Restlessness comes out June 4th, and then we're releasing 2 more full lengths this year.
2 more. Okay, so it's not normal to put out 3 records in 1 year unless you're the Beatles or the Stones back in the day. They would put out tons of stuff, depending on the year. They'd put out a bunch of singles and stuff like that. So for your average modern day rock touring band, it's very unusual to put out that many records. Why are you guys putting out 3 this year?
Well, I totally get the apprehension, you don't want to flood your fans too much. Normally we would be putting out 1 record maybe every year, or an EP or whatever. We actually released Dead Star in March of 2019, and we were planning on doing a bunch of tour dates, but the pandemic happened. So we went into a holding pattern. We released the quarantine sessions on YouTube, which was basically all the live material we would have played if we went on those dates. And then when we realized touring still wasn't going to happen for a while, we just decided, well, let's just try to write as much stuff as we can, because that's basically all we can do. We all live pretty close, and we have our own studio, and it's luckily large enough that we can all be safe and wear a mask, and I had plastic around my drums.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're very fortunate that we were lucky enough to be able to actually see each other during all this madness. But yeah, we just jammed a ton of stuff, and then Sean records everything because he's the recording wizard, and he went through it all, cut it all up, and we had like 8 hours of material still, and cut it down some more, 4 hours. Like, our original plan was to release 4 records because we got so much stuff and we think it's good. Like, I mean, we threw a ton of stuff away.
Yeah.
But we wrote so much and there was enough stuff that we think is good, that we decided to have this crazy idea and release a bunch of records. But I know, like, it totally makes sense. Like, why would you do that? Well, we're not on a label. We do everything ourselves, so we can do this. We don't have to, answer to anybody. We answer to ourselves. And also, we're making each record really different. Like, Burden of Restlessness. Go ahead.
How so?
Well, Burden, which I'm just calling it that, we did that similar to Dead Star, very cohesive. It's a 40-minute record, heavier, chuggier, more, like, lyrically, it's more personal than Sean's ever gotten as far as lyrics go, just because it's talking about basically living through a pandemic and being isolated and not liking where you're at and just questioning everything. But the other two are going to be, I mean, the second one we just finished tracking on Monday. Every one of our records has been recorded in our studio before this. This is the first one we've ever done anywhere else. And it's not a studio. It is not a normal place. Anybody would record a record, and I would probably change a few things knowing what I know now. But, like, the record's going to be really cool. And then the third one, we're also going to have completely different stylistically. So they're all songs that were written in the same period, but we chose these songs because they all flow together and they can all be their own standalone things and still sound really good. But they all still sound like us, and they're, like I said, they're very, very different, but I can't just tell you why because they're not out yet.
Gotcha. So, everybody, we are going to be listening to a couple new tracks off of their album that's going to be coming out very, very soon, called Burden of Restlessness. What was that release date again?
That's June 4th.
June 4th. Nice. That's coming up. But hey, I want to go back a little bit. I want to go back to the Dead Star album that came out last year, and I want you guys to hear this one track. I think it was the first song that I heard on the album, and it pumped me up. It was insane. All right, so this track that we're going to hear off of Dead Star, Scott, actually, when did Dead Star come out again?
It was March, I want to say like March 24th. I don't know the date off the top of my head of 2019.
2019. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So it was not last year. It was over. Oh,
wait. No, do I have the date wrong? It might be 2020. Yeah, it's 2020. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool.
March of 2020. I don't even remember.
All right, so we are going to check out this track. Is called Red Star Part 2 off of their album Dead Star that came out in March of 2020. So let's check it out.
We basically started the band to fill in some tour dates that I had with my previous band called Velvet Elvis. And then we started jamming on those old songs and jamming on some of their songs from their project because they were in Abandoned Buildings Club at the time. And we kind of just developed like this really natural chemistry, and we just wrote 3 songs pretty quickly and then pooped out the demo and then went on tour with All Them Witches. So I don't know, like, we always had a deep appreciation of each other because we were playing shows together. We were kind of like rival psych bands at the time, like, oh, we got to do it better than them. And then we kind of just joined forces.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they're like my brothers, dude. You live in a van with 2 other dudes for like 8 years. You kind of know everything there is to know about them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like being married to someone, but not reaping any of the benefits of a marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't sleep with them because, I mean, you could, I guess, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it'd go very well for us.
Anyway, so while we're on the subject of cramming into vans and, 13-hour drives and an infinite life of deli trays in green rooms,
Dude, I remember the first time we got a deli tray.
We've made
it. There's a long time before you even get a deli tray, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, the first deli tray you get, you're like, man, it doesn't get bigger than this, guys. It doesn't.
I think the first deli tray we got was on tour with you.
Yeah.
I think it was at like Ace of Cups in Columbus. I'm like, dude, you guys get like broccoli and hummus? That's insane.
Yeah. You know it. Anyway, so on that subject, let's start. What is your best, like flying on eagle's wings, best career tour moment? And then what is your absolute, why am I doing this on tour moment? Yeah. Start with the good one, because this is radio. People are listening. Let's make them feel good real quick.
Let's bring up all their hopes and then bring them burning down.
Yes, exactly.
The two that really stand out that were really cool, like we just played Freak Valley Festival. We actually released it on a live vinyl last year. That was really awesome, being able to see a lot of those bands and hang out, because like touring 90% of the time is not the best. You're in a van and you're just waiting to get to the next place to set up to play again. But festivals are a cool thing just because you get to hang out with, a lot of people you don't normally get time to hang out with. And then all the amenities that come with that. So you get to watch all that music, and it's just a great time. In Freak Valley, the crowd was awesome. We had a great time slot. And it was, it's great to see all those friends. And then the other one was the other really great memory I have is the first European tour we ever did. We were on tour with Elder. And we played this festival in Tromsø, Norway, which is like a couple hours from the Arctic Circle, so the sun never went down.
Wow. And
yeah, dude, it was gorgeous, like in the middle of the mountains, like crystal clear, like lake right next to us. We shredded, we didn't play like garbage, and then we ate whale. When will I ever eat a whale again? And I didn't like hunt it myself and like dive into the water, but they had like this really professional, like these super nice chefs that were just carving everything up. And then like one of my like childhood idols, Alice Cooper, like headlined that festival, which still blows my mind to this day that like I technically played a show with Alice Cooper.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yes, Scott Donaldson, drummer here from the amazing band from Rochester called King Buffalo. If you're just now tuning in, we're just talking about what it's like, to be in a band, period. There's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people, think, oh, they just go around, they just party all the time, and it's all living the dream.
80s, dude.
Yeah, like huge record deals, like traveling around in like buses and private jets. No, the reality is for probably 90% of touring bands, maybe even a higher ratio, it's 15 passenger vans, beat up trailers. It's 13 to like 15-hour drives. My band did a 24-hour drive one time through the snow.
You guys are insane. Like, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, like it is absolutely hard work. I always tell people, on the best day of tour, it is the best job that you've ever had. And on the worst moments of a tour, it is literally the worst job in the world, because what you're doing is you're mixing passion with business. And when you're let down, like if something doesn't go right in a show, or you have a bad experience with another band or like a promoter, it can be very, very difficult. But those high moments are awesome. So, speaking of the low moments, we're gonna
look at you with that segue. That was really good.
Yeah. So we just heard your best super psyched touring moment, like pinnacle of career kind of thing. So, give us like something crazy that has happened to you on tour.
Let's see, craziest things. I mean, canceling shows is obviously the worst. Like, we used to tour in a Bills van, and the rear axle just started like spitting differential fluid, so we had to like cancel some dates with Elder. We were flying to Europe for like our first headlining tour ever, and I put in Dan's passport information wrong because his name is Daniel Reynolds, and I put in Dan Reynolds, and apparently that's huge for an international flight, and I thought we weren't going to be able to board the plane.
Oh no.
Like, yeah, dude, it was terrifying. Finally, the lady did something, and we were able to get on the plane, and then we had to cancel a a show on that tour because the van broke down because the sensor light went on and the guy was all afraid, which, whatever. But like the absolute worst was probably, it's the one we always talk about. It's actually when Parks was on tour with us, your bassist, because Dan couldn't do it. We did this festival, if you could even call it that, called Freak Tulsa in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we roll up. The dude was supposed to, pay a deposit. We only getting like $300, and he paid $40. And he's like, "Oh, dude, I'll give you the rest when you get there." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, man." So we get there. I think there was 8 bands, and there was no people. The sound guy quit the night before, so the owner was doing sound.
Oh gosh.
And this guy gave every band the time slot that they wanted. So he's like, every band was playing around like 9 or 10 o'clock, and there's like 8 bands. And so we roll up, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, like, what's going on?" Yeah, so your time slot, we're going to move you. I was like, "Dude, you told me this time. Like, that's the time we want. We came all the way from New York." Like, he's like, "Okay." So he calls the other band, which is like a local band. He's like, "You got to get here at like 6:30 or you're not playing at all." And so they show up, they pull up, an hour late, and they're mad at us. Like, it's our fault. And then they wanted to fight us. And they only didn't fight us because they knew who Parks was. They're like, "Oh man, you're Parks from All Them Witches?" Like, and then they backed off and were actually nice. And then at the end of the night, I have to like watch the dude selling T-shirts until he can get enough money together and then walk up to get paid. And before that, he's like trying to pay us in like precious gems in like a rare Nirvana CD. And he's like, "Yeah, this is worth like $100 on Discogs, dude." Like, dude, I can't put gas in the van with a CD.
Yeah, or rocks and gemstones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I don't know. That local band, they ended up being really cool, but they wanted to fight us. And
yeah,
I've never showed up to a show and somebody just wanted to fight us. It was a very odd thing, and that promoter was way over his head.
Yeah, well, that stuff happens a lot. It does. All right, so. You know what? We've been chatting for a minute. Let's move on to another song. I'm gonna let you pick this one because I was greedy with Red Star Part 2 from the Dead Star album that came out last year. Scott, what are we gonna hear from the new album that's coming out June 4th? What song do you want to play?
I would play the single right now, Habitation, which is really cool. It's one of 2 songs on the record that I actually do in 7, which is new for me. So it was a little tough first getting like my feet underneath that, just like how it breaks down. But like it turned out really awesome, and Sean did a great job with like the vocals. He was trying to get that effect that Radiohead does. I think it's on a national anthem where it sounds like when he's singing, like bouncing off like strings or something.
Yeah.
So it kind of like sounds like a transformer kind of sound.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to like emulate that vocal effect. And when he told me he was going to try to do that, I'm like, yes, all of that. But it's a really cool song, and it's the single that's available now.
All right. So everyone, if you're just now tuning in, I have Scott Donaldson on the phone from awesome band called King Buffalo. They're from Rochester, New York. And we are going to listen to Habitation from their upcoming album called Burden of Restlessness here on 88.5. 88.5 Flagler College Radio. We are back. You just heard Habitation from King Buffalo. That's going to be on their new album called The Burden of Restlessness. I have Scott Donaldson on the phone if you're just now tuning in. This show is called Harmonic Distortion, by the way. I'm your host, Ben McLeod. Scott, drummer from King Buffalo. Tell us about the song that we just heard and the meaning behind Habitation.
Well, I don't know the entire meaning. Sean's usually the lyric wizard, and I help out because he'll admit himself he's a little slow when it comes to lyrics. But he had this overall arc, which, I mean, is pretty obvious from the title of the record, The Burden of Restlessness, because we've all kind of been dealing with a lot of restless energy considering we've been going through a pandemic. So a lot of that stems from that kind of isolation and, questioning what's going on in the world and when things will go back to normal.
Yeah. So, speaking of that, a lot of people in like interviews that I've done for people with my own band, like one of the main questions I get that by this point is beaten to death. It's like, how has it been as a band and a touring band in a pandemic? And my answer was always kind of the same thing. It was like, bands have been doing this since, the 60s, like making albums, touring them, and cramming in vans and doing the whole rock and roll thing. So everybody just has to be patient, and you can't really reinvent the wheel here. Like, stuff is going to go back to normal. You just have to be patient. So if I was to ask you the same question with your experience, how has it been?
It's been stressful, man.
Yeah.
Like being in a band in general is stressful because, like you said earlier, which makes a million, like all the points of sense. It's something you care deeply about. I mean, the reason you become a musician is because it creates those highs and you're passionate about it, but it also creates like some of the worst lows because, it's something you're so passionate about that when it doesn't go right, it's soul crushing in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. But that also makes it more rewarding when the good things do happen. When a pandemic happens, which the last one was like Spanish flu in like 1918 or something, and that kind of thing happens, the whole world shuts down. So it's not really all about you. Everybody's dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So we just tried to do the best that we could. And like our goal was to just create as much content as possible. And that's why we're releasing 3 records this year.
Yeah. And you guys did a bunch of those live stream things.
Yeah, we didn't do a traditional live stream. We talked about it. I don't know if we necessarily have the bandwidth to do it in our studio, but I know me personally, I don't care about live streams. It's really lame to me, and like Thanks. I'm not trying to like poop on anybody else that's done one. I think like if that's what you want to do it, dude. That's awesome. The whole reason for me for being a musician and playing live is like getting the vibe from the crowd, and doing like a live stream is just you don't get that. So we put out the quarantine sessions, which is basically all the material you would have heard live if you saw us, if we did tour. And that way you can listen to it whenever you want and whatever order you want and, free on YouTube.
That's awesome. So how many tours did you guys have canceled? Because I think that we had 2 get actually 3 now completely get canceled. 2 Europe tours, 1 US tour. And then we had 2 or 3 just get postponed. What is it looking like for you guys, and how many were canceled?
So basically we canceled the European one because that was supposed to be like a summer one, which stinks because there was a bunch of cool festivals that I've always wanted to play. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just getting moved to 2022 because that's what everything's looking like right now. So summer 2022 we'll be basically doing the same kind of stuff. As far as US, I think it got like postponed like 3 times. I think the dates we have right now for September are still those dates from last year, but they're just going to be fly-ins. We're kind of hitting the major cities on this and waiting for kind of the dust to settle before we do like a traditional, 3-week, 4-week tour in a van.
Gotcha. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Scott Donaldson on the phone, the drummer from King Buffalo. Stop laughing at me. Anyway, drummer from one of my favorite bands, King Buffalo. Scott is one of my best friends as well, and I'm so psyched that he agreed to come live on the air here on 88.5. Real quick,
such an honor to have me on the phone.
Oh, also, for those of you just now tuning in, I am recording this, so I am going to be replaying this interview at 8 o'clock here on 88.5. Tour. We were speaking with Scott from a very hardworking touring band. That is the word of the day, tour. Tour. So, Scott, I heard that you are recording your 3rd album that's coming out this year. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this band, King Buffalo, they're putting out 3 albums this year. That is very unusual, but very rock and roll. That's cool. So, I heard from a random source, from an anonymous source, that
I'm pretty sure it was me, but yeah, so anonymous.
Yes, so anonymous, that you're recording your 3rd album not in a traditional studio, but possibly outside of a studio. Possibly.
Well, you got it a little twisted. It's the second record we did. We just actually tracked it on this past Monday. And yes, a place that you would never record a record.
Never.
But the third, yeah, I don't know of anybody that's recorded a record in that environment. But I also haven't scoured the internet, like looking and trying to find somebody who has. But
did you have
the third record will be in our studio.
Did you have to bring a generator?
No, they do have power, fortunately, because that would have been a whole nother mess.
Did you have to rent this undisclosed location?
Yeah, I contacted them, and they were really cool because, man, there was a lot of technical difficulties. We went way over time, but we got it, and I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, so for those of you tuning in, we're talking about the 3 albums King Buffalo is putting out this year. So this will be the second one that's recorded in a crazy location?
Yes, exactly.
So, unfortunately, I am not allowed to tell you guys where it was recorded, but it is pretty insane. So let your imaginations run wild. Was it recorded?
There's been a couple people that have guessed it, and I haven't confirmed or denied it. And they are correct, but I'm not going to, point those people out. We did have JJ from the Obelisk come to the location as well, and he's going to do a full write-up and stuff about it when we do announce. So that'll be cool. And Ben knows JJ. He came to one of the first shows we did together. I think he came to like that Stroudsburg one where Sean had a migraine and had a trash can next to him, so he didn't throw up. In case he did throw up. And then I think Robbie was like climbing a tree outside. And
me and Parks were under the influence.
Oh, yeah. Parks was wearing some sunglasses too.
Yes.
Anyway, I forgot about that.
We won't say, but...
too much Kool-Aid.
Yeah. This guy named JJ, he's like one of my favorite writers. He writes my own band's bios and things like that. He's killer. He runs a blog called The Obelisk. Check it out.
Yeah, the obelisk.net.
Yeah. Obelisk.net. It's all, it's all public stuff. It's super cool, and he's just so passionate, and he is a massive fan of King Buffalo, I can tell you that. So Scott,
he's also a massive fan of All Them Witches.
And King Buffalo. And Elder. Hey, so let's listen to some more music. How about that? I'm gonna let you pick the second track that you're gonna let us and everyone who's tuning in, either on iHeartRadio or on local 88.5 FM. We're gonna let them hear a second track, and I get the honors of saying that no one has heard this track yet. Am I correct?
That is 100% correct. This is going to be a music video. We actually later are doing some shoots for it to finish it up. But yeah, this is the second single we're releasing from the Burden of Restlessness, out June 4th on all King Buffalo places. It's called Silverfish.
Silverfish. Awesome. So this is Silverfish off of their upcoming album, June 4th, The Burden of Restlessness, here on 88.5. Scott, tell me a little bit about future plans after this year, once stuff gets going again, like obviously you've had tours canceled, you've had tours postponed, like where do you want to see your band, you, Sean and Dan, what do you guys want to be doing this time next year?
Hopefully touring, probably the third record of this year.
Gotcha.
Just doing some dates, hoping that the world is back to normal, maybe getting ready for Europe, since that's most likely going to be summer of 2022. Mm-hmm. So, just things being normal again. I think everybody in the world wants things to be normal right now.
Yeah. So are you planning on doing like 3 totally separate tours for the 3 albums that are coming out this year, 2021?
No.
Okay.
So we're basically going to be, towards the end of this year, we're going to be touring to push Burden in the second record. And then the third record's probably going to come out like right towards the end of the year. So we'd probably be touring for that one in 2022.
Gotcha. Gravy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in here on 88.5. This first interview with one of my best friends and one of my favorite bands called King Buffalo, Scott Donaldson, the drummer, amazing person, amazing at everything he does. He actually handles all of the merchandise in his band. He handles all the shipping orders. He still does some booking stuff every now and then. I know he has a major booking agent, though. He is
Thank you, Ben.
very lucky. One that I hooked him up with. Anyway, Scott is the true quintessential modern day musician where hard work really does pay off. Like, you're not just going to get a record deal. You're not just going to get a booking agent. You have to work. You have to put in the work to do this stuff. It is a lot of hard work, and it takes a very long time. For bands like us, for bands like King Buffalo, for bands, who are playing 1,000 capacity venues and under, unless you have a major hit single, it is going to be a very, very slow incline. But the benefit to that is the longer you build that kind of crescendo of a career, the longer it's going to take to go away. You're going to have fans that are going to love you for so long because they have kind of been with you from the building. You're not some flash in the pan with a single and then you're gone tomorrow. And that to me is like pure rock and roll. I love that. I love King Buffalo. Scott, tell us where people can check out your records.
We're on Bandcamp, of course. We're going to be on all streaming platforms when they're released. The Burden of Restlessness will be on, iTunes, Spotify, all those things, June 4th. We also, like Ben mentioned, I ship all the merch. I'm a label, band manager, handyman, website, social media guy, all wrapped into one person. Like Ben saying, you got to do it all yourself, and we're not on a major label, so it's literally my hands touching all the things that you buy. So if you're afraid of my hands, don't buy anything. If you're interested in hearing more about King Buffalo or listening to us, you can go to kingbuffalo.com.
Perfect. And do you guys have Instagram?
We have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all at King Buffalo Band.
That is too easy. I love it. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you're just catching the tail end of this, don't fret. I've been recording this the whole time, so I am going to literally replay this at 8 o'clock. And I do appreciate everyone listening. I will tune in next week, next Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. I'm your host, Ben McLeod, and this was another excellent week of harmonic distortion. Scott, I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. So stoked to have you.
Yeah. Hopefully I get to see you soon on the road or somewhere else.
Very soon. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will catch everybody next week. I'm going to leave you guys with a fourth King Buffalo track. This is Etta Carone off of their 2019 Dead Star album. See you guys next week.